Let's start with sort of the Conservative leadership team and the shadow cabinet, and then we can sort of jump right into the lack of conversation around vaccines.
Yeah, so a mix of old hands and a few new faces appointed to these shadow positions, some promotions, some lateral moves. But really the big takeaway from this is that every single person in that shadow cabinet, we expect, has been fully vaccinated. Mr. O'Toole didn't say that specifically, but he'd said it through implication by saying that when the House returns in 2 weeks' time, that every single member of his shadow cabinet was going to be in Ottawa, in the chamber, ready to hold the government to account. That implies that they've all had both shots, because that is the current rule, that if you want to attend physically in the chamber, you have to be fully vaccinated. Some MPs could still attend virtually through these hybrid parliament sittings if they had not been vaccinated. And if they were to do that, they would not necessarily have to reveal their vaccine status. But some interesting exclusions from this. Some two veteran Conservatives, both from Ontario, Dean Allison and Marilyn Gladu, not on the shadow cabinet list, and also Leslyn Lewis, who ran against Mr. O'Toole in the leadership race last year and was elected for the first time in her riding. She was considered by many to be a very impressive rising star, one of the few visible minorities the party had elected amongst its new group of MPs, but she's not there. And the reason for all three of those, we presume, is that they have all publicly said things that question science or question vaccine mandates. Ms. Lewis, in her case, questioning the use of vaccines in pediatric medicine, saying children should not be getting the vaccine. Mr. Allison, as you heard one of our colleagues ask Mr. O'Toole about, had put two petitions before the House of Commons, one of them calling for approval of ivermectin, the anti-parasitic used in veterinary settings, and which has got sort of a cult following, although scientists say it's not appropriate for treatment for COVID-19. So he has a petition there asking regulators to approve it for that purpose, and also another petition questioning vaccine mandates and even questioning the efficacy of vaccine in general. So this is a really awkward position for Mr. O'Toole to have these voices coming from inside his caucus. We heard yesterday him saying that the caucus would deal with this. He was asked, I asked him, what are you going to do about Marilyn Gladu? What are you going to do about Leslyn Lewis when they go out and say these things publicly, which you and Mr. O'Toole admit sow confusion, create vaccine hesitancy? He says that's going to be a decision, Angie, for his caucus when they meet next week.
Yeah, that's right. And he also talked about Dr. Stephen Ellis as sort of the deputy health minister there, is sort of going to be the go-to person to sort of guide the Conservative Party and call, of course, the Liberals, and include the NDP as well, talking about that coalition that he's been reading about, calling them to question, calling them to account. Your take on that there, saying, I'm going to have a doctor right by my side telling me, the rights and wrongs of what we need to be doing, unlike what, as he says, Justin Trudeau is saying but not doing.
Yeah, this is almost a move aimed at some of those MPs in his own caucus, putting in somebody who is an actual medical doctor, elected in Nova Scotia for the first time in the fall election. He's someone who's got credibility. He's a veteran. So that is someone Mr. O'Toole would like to put forward as the face of the party on the vaccine issue, not the voices, the more strident and extreme voices that are coming from within his caucus that he's going to have to deal with.
Well, we'll see what happens next week when that caucus does meet and who is going to be there in person. All right, CTV's Glen McGregor for us in Ottawa. Thank you so much for this, Glen.